and
I
then
just
I will
did.
start. Okay, sweet.
It's sent into the switchboard and everything right now. So give it a second. Yep. Oh, cool. Look, live on Twitter. Give me one moment.
All right. So for anybody jumping on right now while we're getting things situated, if you want to be part of the conversation, join us on YouTube or Facebook. We check comments on there. Comments don't stay long on Twitter, so we don't check
Yeah,
those
that kind of
comments.
sucks.
But I tried to do it one day and like things just kept vanishing. I was like,
I
wait,
know, I
where did
did
that
too.
go?
And like for some reason, Twitter's like the worst platform, I guess, for going live, unless
Twitter's been
I
it's
think
having
it just
lots of
depends on what
problems
you're
yeah.
going
lately.
for.
Twitter's just not a great place to be right now in general. It's
I feel like it's
unfortunate.
always chaos.
Facebook's acting up.
But
Give it
yes,
a
I see
second.
us on the YouTube. Facebook always takes a minute.
Yeah, we'll give it
Um,
just a couple of seconds.
I'm gonna
Oh,
crack
stop
open
asking
my
me for
beer while we
changes.
do.
Oh, was that us?
But yeah,
Nope.
this is we got a guest with us tonight, so I'm excited.
We do. We
We
do. We have
haven't had a guest in a little bit.
yeah, pretty exciting. So we do have a guest tonight. We haven't had a guest in a little while. We've kind of been since things have been inconsistent since we've been getting back to busy lives, busy schedules. So recording nights have been hit and miss. But I'm gonna go ahead and start us since Facebook will catch up eventually. And yeah, so hey everybody, welcome back. Of course, if you heard us inconsistent ramblings over here, we're back with another live episode of Hops News. It's kind of the podcast where we love to talk about beer news, and we love having members from the breweries come on, talk to us about their brewery, their beer adventure, and just talk beer in general. And so we do have a couple of guests with us tonight, which we will get to in just a moment. But if you are watching on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe. Twitter, follow us there. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. While those platforms still exist before they get buried underneath verifications and other crazy, stupid, you know, things that whatever we're doing out there. So, but if,
Just
if
bash all
Facebook
the
just
platforms are on.
well, maybe they'll start to turn things around. We are on Facebook now, so if you're on Facebook, hey, share with us, and we'll be following along in the comments. If you have any questions for us, we'll make sure to get to those. So first things first, since our brewery tonight is gluten free. Of course, unfortunately I couldn't find them out here in Idaho where I am. However, I did want to grab a gluten free sour, which I found from Untitled Art out of Wisconsin. It's a 5.5% gluten free sour with passion fruit concentrate, vanilla flavored soft serve, blueberry puree, and yeah, it's out of Wanaki, Wisconsin. Shout out to Patrick. I know he's from Wisconsin. And I went to open it and it exploded everywhere. So that was the lead up into hitting live and get everything going. Is like I have passion fruit looking, as you can see. It's real thick, real nice looking, and it was just everywhere. And so I was cleaning that up there for a second. But Lauren, real quick, what are you drinking?
So have you seen that follow Pints and Panels at all? She does like the cute little drawings with like beer education, and
Oh, that's
she
cool. I
did
don't
one
think I
with like a
have.
sour exploding, and it was like where like the
This
dog's
is the
like
can. That's
surrounded by fire, and it says this is fine. So it was
oh
somebody whose
yeah, that's
beer had exploded.
that's Carrie and I's, my wife
Um,
and I's like life motto. Like if we can get anything portrait hung above our couch, it would be that dog right there, just because that's how our lives go.
well, if you want the beer one, she sells it. I got
All
her
right.
book. It's a very pretty, very informative beer, or very informative book. So the beer I cracked open is from Jester King Brewery in Dripping
Oh yeah.
Springs, Texas, just outside of Austin, and it is the Brave Noise Pale Ale. Sadly, this is the first one I've grabbed. I was hoping more breweries were going to jump on this one because it's all about inclusion in the beer industry. A bunch of I think this was the one that Rat Magnet started. I'm not positive,
Hmm.
but it's a nice crisp refreshing pale ale, only at 5.2% because we're doing a lot of recording tonight. So I'm trying to keep the
Yeah, we are.
ABVs lower.
I know. We are. Meanwhile, I have for our third recording tonight when we talk Supernatural later. Because if you don't know, Lauren and I also do Hops Geek News, which is a nerd centric pop culture comic book podcast where we also feature beer of the week. So we got some things going on tonight, and one of my beers for Ant-Man, where we're going to talk about our Ant-Man wrap up or review, is I have a stout, which is probably not smart because that's 11%, but it is what it is.
Ooh.
Anyways, let's get to our guest sitting over here, Aaron, who is the co-founder and head brewer of Otherwise Brewing, which is San Francisco's first gluten-free brewery. Aaron, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm just wondering, Stella just texted me. She said she's not able to get onto the call. Is
Oh
she?
no.
She says it says waiting for the host.
That's weird.
Ah, she might be in the green
I don't
room.
have a green room.
She's in
That's
the
weird because I
purgatory.
never
Oh,
got the
yeah,
call
she's in
come through.
purgatory.
So I will go ahead and I will send this to her again. And in the meantime, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit
Meantime, we
about
can talk.
yourself? And yeah, we can chat up while I send this.
Sure, I am one of two co-founders of Otherwise Brewing. Stellar should be joining us shortly. We launched just over 2 years ago now in San Francisco. I'd been homebrewing for a long time and had been in marketing and in the arts, and I was kind of looking for a change of pace. I knew a bunch of people in the beer industry and thought it would be fun to open a brewery. But at the same time, from my marketing background, I was like, well, do I really want to open craft brewery number 185 in the Bay Area? I want something a little bit more unique. A lot of people in my family are gluten free. I'm not personally, but I thought, maybe there's something here. Maybe I can experiment a little bit with this and see if we can make something interesting. So Stellar and I got together. We decided this would be worth exploring. We did about a year and a half, 2 years of test brewing, figuring out how to make these recipes and make them taste good. It was important for us that it be about flavor first. The gluten free had to be something like an added bonus, right? We wanted to make delicious
Hmm.
beer that could go toe to toe with any other craft brewery out there, but then it would have the added bonus of being gluten free. And that's what would make us stand out for the competition. So once we got to the point where we felt like we were producing beer like that, it was time to test it out. So we launched early 2021 with a rice lager, 100% malted rice. And then we
Mm.
started selling that and we expanded the lineup from there. I think to date we've released 8 or 9 different beers. We have 5 beers out on the market at any one time, and we're distributing around the Bay Area.
Oh, nice. So you guys are distributing and everything like that. Because I saw on your website, people can actually invest in the brewery as well, right?
That's right. We're teaming up with one of our accounts. It's a craft beer bar in San Francisco who really loves what we're doing, has always believed in our mission. And he approached us, the owner approached us last summer and was like, hey, I'd love to collaborate with you guys more closely. And we said, well, we've always wanted to open up our own tap room, but we started this thing on a shoestring budget. We couldn't really afford that to start. How would you feel about the idea of possibly transitioning your space into a tap room for Otherwise Brewing? So we started looking through the possibilities and exploring what would work if it was even allowed for the zoning of the area, if there going to be any regulatory problems. Slowly but surely, we got everything checked off the list. It all started to add up, and we decided to hit go on that. So we launched this crowdfunding campaign to be able to fund that. We need to make some changes to the space, put in a brewing system, things like that. So that's what the
Nice.
crowdfunding campaign is for. It's to help us open that tap room, the first gluten free tap room in San Francisco.
Nice. How has the reception been to, you guys opening up? Because gluten free, I mean, my family, I'm with you. My family, a lot of them are gluten free, my mom in particular. And I kind of tiptoe the line a little bit. I don't have to be, but I kind of tend to live that way as well. So, what is the reception to, hey, gluten free beer? How does that kind of get people coming in? But like, that's weird. That's an interesting concept, or is it pretty everyone on board?
It depends who you talk to. I mean, I think among the hardcore beer nerds, maybe they tried some of the sort of the first wave of gluten free around 10 years ago that was actually technically not gluten free, as we later found out. But there were some brands trying to do that back then, and people had sort of mixed reactions to that because they were really marketing it on the gluten free rather than marketing it on the flavor. We
Mm-hmm.
thought it was really important to market it on the flavor. So we have accounts that don't even list us as a gluten free. They're just like, this is a great craft brewery from Bay Area. You should taste the beer. We go to beer festivals, Oktoberfest events, things like that. We pour beer for people, and they just are like, we like this beer. This is my favorite beer at the event. So
Oh,
um,
awesome.
the the gluten free for us, it's really it's there for the people who need it. We do this. It's about inclusivity and accessibility. We want
Hmm.
everyone to be able to enjoy craft beer regardless of their dietary restrictions. Um, but it has to taste good, right? So we definitely market it first on flavor, and the reception we've gotten so far has been really positive.
Nice, right on. And as you can see here, Stellar Cassie has joined the room. I pulled her out of purgatory, and she's joined us. You're the other co-founder. Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. Yes, that last link worked. So thank you for
Perfect.
sending that over.
Yeah, I don't, sometimes I don't know why one email link might work better. It's the same link, who knows, but
There's always something. When you're
you
going
know,
live, it's always something.
it's technology. We figured it out. That's the big important thing is we got you both here. We're excited to chat, and Aaron was telling us a little bit about the brewery. So what we would love to know is how, Stellar, did you get into the beer world? What brought you into this world to be like, you know what, I also want to go in and open up a brewery?
Well, my love of craft beer started towards the end of my college career. I was here in San Francisco, and I didn't really have like a lot of room in my apartment to do my homework. So I was like, oh, I'll go out, and do my homework at bars. There's so many great bars in my neighborhood, and I just felt like it was easier for me to concentrate there. So I started hanging out at a craft beer bar near my house called the Church Key, which I still work there and I still run it. And I didn't had no idea craft beer one could taste like that. It was the first place I had a sour beer. I loved the community, the way people talked about beer. I was working on my poetry degree at the time, and I saw all of this poetry in beer and in the beer community. So I just got sucked right in, and I fell head over heels in love with the industry. And then after college, I decided to pursue a career in beer because I loved it so much. And it didn't take long for me to decide that I wanted my own brewery after that. So after like a little bit of preliminary planning and kind of like fleshing out what I wanted to do, Aaron and I met, and then we were able to put our visions together and start planning for Otherwise.
Nice. Was it like, how did you guys end up meeting? Was it first like, hey, we just became friends, and then like, you know what sounds great? I've wanted to open up a brewery for the longest time. And the other one was like, you know what, me too.
Me
Was that kind of
too.
how it worked?
We
Sort
were
of, yeah,
introduced
we
by a
met
mutual friend. Yeah.
who's also a local brewer,
Oh,
and he
nice.
introduced
Hmm.
us, and we kind of had a collective vision all together. And Aaron and I, we wanted the same things, and so we decided to team up and see if we could make this thing work.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'd say a couple of years in, I don't want like the pandemic. That part of the hardest part, I would say, is over. We can have events again and things like that.
Knock
And it's
on.
knock on, yeah, God bless, knock on wood. So it's exciting because you guys opened up like right in the thick of, hey, open, close, all these mandates and things like that. So how hard was that to navigate while opening up?
In a way, it didn't really make a difference for us because we didn't have an existing tap room that we needed to support. We didn't have existing staff, so we're
Right.
like, okay, things are shifting to like packaged beer right now. I guess we'll focus on that, right? So that we were able to launch really focusing on putting beer in cans and getting it out to off-premise accounts. So you know, I it's weird to say, but I don't feel like the pandemic really hurt us in any way. It sort of made us be a little bit more nimble, think about how we wanted to
Mhm.
roll out. But in the end, once we got out there, we found a way to get the beer to people and to see what the reaction was.
Ooh, awesome.
And I'll go ahead and add to that, like launching during the pandemic. I think that there were mixed feelings there because coming out of it, which is when we launched in February 2021, you know, uh, I personally was worried that would not be willing to try something new, that they were going to want to stick with the brands that they've been loyal to, during the pandemic or pre-pandemic. They're like, oh, what's this new brewery that I haven't heard of? If they would even want to support something like that. So there was that fear, but I think that we were happy to see that a lot of people were trying to drink better for you beverages after the pandemic. So I think that
Mhm.
that helped us coming out as a gluten free brand, um, because people wanted to, drink a little bit healthier after, spending so much time
Two
indoors or
years
whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
of binge
Yeah,
drinking every night.
yeah, for some of us.
Wait,
So
you're seeing non-alcoholic beers starting to thrive too. So I feel
yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
do you guys have any non-alcoholic breweries in the area? Is that something that either one of you would like? Oh, well, if you're looking to have more healthier beer choices, check them out, and vice versa.
There are breweries in SF that are making non-alcoholic options. There's not a dedicated non-alcoholic brewery in SF right now. The only one that I can name is in Sausalito, which is just north of us in Marin County. But yeah, that's something that we surely want to offer when we have the smaller system in our tap room, because again, we're all about inclusivity. So you're not being inclusive if you're not offering something for people who aren't drinking alcohol.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah. And do you guys hold like events and things there at the, or do you guys plan on doing that too? Because I feel like the big draw is like a lot of people don't think of when they host trivia nights and things is, hey, how do we open it up to those non-drinkers and things like that? So having the non-alcoholic options are really good ideas.
Yeah, the
Yeah, that's
space already,
definitely part of the
as
plan.
the existing
Go ahead,
business.
Stella.
Sorry, can you hear me? There was a loud
Yes.
motorcycle. The space already has like an open mic night and a trivia night, and we definitely plan to continue things like that and
Oh, nice.
add more if possible.
Mm-hmm. Now, going back to actually brewing the beer, because I know you have on your website beer beyond barley. So, can you tell us some of the things you've come up with some of these beers and how they're unique and they stand out from other breweries with being gluten free?
Sure. The main fermentable we use is rice. We use a lot of malted rice from the Central Valley here in California. And we went with them, first of all, because they make a good product, but also because it's, a local ingredient that it's nice to support local farmers and stuff like that. So I've done a lot of test brewing around rice. We also use some other gluten-free grains, millet, buckwheat, and sometimes oats. Those are sort of the main four that we draw on. With the millets, you get a range of malts as well, so you can get some like different flavors in there. So um, depending on the recipe, we'll mix things up. Like as I mentioned, our Calrose Crisp Rice Lager is 100% malted rice, so you get that sort of traditional Pilsner type characteristic. It has a little bit of a honey note in the background. It tastes like a beer. Like if you just drank it at a bar, you wouldn't say, "Oh, what is this?" It is.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more. We emphasize a little bit more the flavor of the Hallertau hops in it, because I like that flavor. I like hop forward lagers. Um, but in terms of the taste of the actual malt component, it is malty. I mean, it tastes like beer. It's dry and crisp like a lager should be. When you get into some of the millet malts, they have a little bit more natural sweetness to them. So I tend to use them in beers where we want to carry more of that residual sweetness forward into the recipe. And then buckwheat is super interesting because everyone's had buckwheat pancakes, and the first time I heard of buckwheat in beer, I thought, I'm not sure if I want that buckwheat pancake taste in my beer, right? Um, but for some reason, that flavor seems to not be water soluble. Buckwheat in beer tastes nothing like buckwheat. You wouldn't even. I made 100% buckwheat beer just as a test at one point. You couldn't tell it was buckwheat. It tastes
Oh,
slightly
wow.
nutty. It just has sort of a sweetness. It's very thick. It has a lot of beta glucan in it, so it's good for adding some like body to beers. But it tastes
Mm-hmm.
nothing like buckwheat pancakes. So I don't always mention the buckwheat when I'm telling people what's in the recipe because they think, ooh, it's going to taste like that strong pancake taste, but it's nothing like that. It's actually just a really useful addition in small quantities to your recipes to get a little bit more body.
Hmm. Was it was it a little bit more challenging, brewing with this kind of stuff, or is the brewing process generally the same as you would using normal grains and things of that nature?
It's quite a bit different. I don't know how technical you want me to get on this
Hey, let's get nerdy with
Go
podcast.
for
I
it.
absolutely.
don't, I
Yeah.
don't know how technical your listeners are here. The happy accident of nature with beer is that barley uh, has these enzymes in it that turn the starches into sugar, right?
Mm,
And then the sugars are
Mm-hmm.
what the yeast eats to make beer. We don't make beer; we make food for yeast, and the yeast make the beer for us. So, in order for that to happen, something called gelatinization has to happen to the starch, which happens at a specific temperature. And just because of what happened in nature, barley, those two temperatures line up, the enzyme temperature and gelatinization temperature. That doesn't happen for many other grains. And for all the gluten-free grains, they don't line up very well at all. So it causes a lot of complications. You have to go through a very different type of brewing process. We use commercially available enzymes in our brewing in order to simplify that process. So, yeah, the brew days are quite a bit different. Um, and it doesn't work on everybody's brew system. There are only certain types of brewing equipment that'll work on. Yeah.
Does the fermentation process last a little bit longer as well then, if the way of everything breaks down?
Nope. If you do your job right, the yeast can't tell the difference, and they're
Oh,
just
sweet.
chowing down the way they always would.
They go to
Yeah.
town, they don't tell the difference. That's
Hmm.
awesome. Yeah, that's something I've always thought about too, is we get some more of those things. It's like, all right, I know all the grains are different, so I was interested to see how the yeast react a little bit differently and how all of those things kind of coagulate together in there. So that's good to know. That's really good to know, because I think a lot of brewers, out there who might be a little bit shy going to that
Hesitant.
model, yeah, they're like, oh, is it going to take up a fermenter to last longer and things like that. So it's good to know that no, that's not the case at all.
Right.
Now, what's like how? So you guys have what, 5 different beers on right now? Is like that you kind of go with? Is that correct?
That's right.
Um, and what's
Yeah.
is there like a flagship that's like, hey, if we say your brewery, is that the one people are like, oh, that's the beer right there? Like if somebody comes into your brewery and like if they only pour one beer, this is the beer that they gotta have.
Well, there is two. Our rice lager and our pale ale. So the rice lager was the first beer that we brewed, and we've made that. We wanted that to be a flagship at the gate, and so we always have that one available. And then our Western Edition Pale Ale, that's kind of like very emblematic of San Francisco and the West Coast Pale Ale style that we love. So we like to say that those two are our flagships. Not to say that we won't add more, but for
Oh, for
now,
sure.
those are the two that we consider to be our year round flagship beers.
Mhm.
A good West
Well,
Coast.
and rice lager is, I think, a very approachable beer. Like so many breweries that aren't even gluten free are doing that now. So I don't even think anybody would bat an eye at a rice lager. Everyone's looking for good lagers these days.
Absolutely. We felt the same way too. And because our rice lager is obviously 100% rice because it is gluten free, we really wanted to showcase the beauty of the rice malt since we were going to be brewing most of our beer mostly with it. And
Hmm.
I always like to tell, my accounts that lagers are very easy to drink, but they're hard to make. So we wanted to
Yeah.
come out the gate with just a badass 100% rice lager to prove that we can do it. We can do it gluten free and it can still taste delicious.
Nice.
That's a good idea, yeah. Because even with loggers are kind of that gateway too for a lot of people that I feel who aren't into the craft beer per se as much as somebody else, and so when they come in, they're like, I don't know what to have. You get the typical, well, what is closest to Bud Light, and it's like, okay, a good
Mhm.
lager, especially a good rice lager, is something that I find like, hey, to a lot of my friends who aren't into the beers like that, I'm like
Beer
try
scene.
this. I guarantee you're probably going to like it.
For sure. It's definitely, there's nothing offensive about a well made lager, as long as there's no off flavors or anything like that. So I think that it was smart for us to make that like our first beer and our flagship beer.
For sure.
Hmm.
Super pairable with food as well.
Oh yeah,
There's
that
lots of
is
benefits to
is
lagers. And I see more and more too that people in the industry, like brewers, want to drink lagers. They want something that has hop character, but that's easy to drink, but maybe not as intense or full bodied as an IPA.
oh
And not an eight
absolutely,
percenter.
yeah. I mean, something that's easy to drink versus you're downing double IPAs, you're downing stouts, things that are just like feel heavy to the stomach. Whereas lagers, like it's a good warm weather day outside, I can drink this all day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you had mentioned before you like purchasing locally because obviously it's environmentally friendly and you want to put that money, right back into your community. So being in Northern California, are all your hops locally sourced as well?
They're all West Coast except for the lager, where we felt we really needed those German hops. But
Mm.
yeah, for
Ah.
now, we do focus exclusively on West Coast hops.
Is it easier to get your ingredients for the gluten free style? Do you find it easier to get your hands on, or is it a little bit more difficult trying to source those ingredients versus your typical barleys and your malts?
Oh, it's quite a bit harder. There are not as many suppliers. There's only a handful of suppliers, and there hasn't been that infrastructure that has been built up. When the craft beer scene started in the '90s, there wasn't really anywhere for these pioneering breweries to get their malt because the big,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
they had it all.
breweries like they had everything, and their suppliers were like, okay, well, how many train loads do you want full? of malt, and the guys at Boston Beer in Sierra Nevada are like, well, like less than a train. It's like, how do you order
Less than a train.
your ingredient? so um, so over time, there's been this supply chain that has built up to support the craft beer industry, where there are these, I guess, middlemen sounds like a bad word, but that is kind of what they do, right? They buy from the large vendors, and they sell them in more appropriate quantities for smaller breweries. So there isn't that infrastructure for gluten free. So the suppliers that are out there are having to go through those big negotiation processes with the big guys. And for that reason, there's not too many of them that are doing it, and it tends to be more expensive because they don't have that volume pricing that you get when you're buying in those large amounts. So
Right. Are you
the supply
allowed to
chain thing
directly?
is sorry, go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. No, you're good.
I was just going to say the supply chain for the ingredients is probably the most challenging part of brewing gluten free, just because there are fewer options, and the options that are there are more expensive.
That makes a lot of sense. Lauren, what were you going to say?
Yeah.
No, I was just wondering if in California, are you guys required to sell your alcohol through an intermediary, or can you sell it directly to other businesses?
We can sell direct, so that helps.
Oh, that's nice.
That is super helpful, because once you get into like that middleman, it sounds bad. In some cases it's not, but some of those states, that we see really limit and hamper these breweries, and it sucks. It's not fair to the brewery, because it's already hard enough for you guys as it is.
Yeah.
It's
just leftover prohibition stuff that just is slowly disappearing.
100 years later, that we'd still think we'd get rid of by now.
Like 100 years. Oh my gosh.
It's been a while.
Almost since it's been repealed. Yeah.
I'm in my prime. So where then can people generally, like, with outside the tap room? You said you distribute. So where are the places that would be most common to find your guys' beer if they can't make it to the actual brewery itself to buy beer in that area?
Well, our self-distribution footprint right now is the entire Bay Area. We go up as far as like the Santa Rosa area, as far east as Antioch, and down to San Jose. For the people who are familiar with the Bay Area, you could also buy directly from our website online, and we can ship to you if you're within California. But the easiest places to find our canned beers would be any Bay Area Bevmo or Total Wine. We're in those systems. And soon to be Whole Foods. We've been working on the onboarding process for that for a while, so that should be not too long from now. But I would say that those are like the easiest, most consistent places I can name to find our canned.
Easy, man. I miss Total Wine. That's one place that, like, I'm stuck here right outside of Boise, and man, there's no Total Wine here. So finding beers, and even finding like out of state beers, is near impossible. It's ridiculous, these dang laws. I'm telling you.
But I'd also say for anyone in the Bay Area, go to our website, because we have a map that's kept up to date. It pulls from our inventory system, so it'll show you where the closest location to you is where you can find our beers. So if there's a small local retailer down the block, go there, support them.
Yeah.
I was surprised when I clicked on that. There was a lot more locations than I expected. So you guys are definitely in a good portion of San Francisco, it looks like.
Because I thought the same thing.
Go ahead,
that whole area and then down, I was like, wow, they are a ton of places, which is great, especially for, in the grand scheme of things, a relatively younger brewery, to have that kind of footprint already is phenomenal. Absolutely.
Yeah, Stella's out there hustling every day.
Hustle is real. It did help too.
On Whole Foods.
Starting this project, that I had, I had a built-in network being in the industry for like 10 years already. And so I'd made a lot of connections. So I was very grateful that when I launched Otherwise, there was already like a built-in support network to like kind of help get us off the ground, who like really believed in me and Aaron and what we were doing. So shout out to my amazing network.
It pays to know people, like having friends, to call on them when you
it pays to have friends.
It does. It pays to have friends, man. For anybody out there, it's like, I don't need friends. You can be like Vin Diesel. You got family. Come on.
Oh,
yeah, for sure. And like, I think it's like a testament to the quality of the beer too, because if you base your business model on just like your friends supporting you, it's not incredibly sustainable. But the fact that we've been able to grow so much in the past couple of years, aside from, whatever built-in networks we have, means that people actually really do like the product. So that feels good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you guys see in the future then, like kind of like non-alcoholic beers kind of took off? Do you see there being a growth like that in the gluten-free market as well?
Yeah, I definitely see that. I feel like gluten free is at a spot in beer, sort of where craft beer was in the sort of late '90s, where there's a little bit of awareness, but most people have never tried one. And I think, if we do our job right, if we continue to hustle and get the word out there, and continue keeping up the emphasis on flavor while brewing
Mm-hmm.
quality gluten free beer, I think it has the potential to become a big thing that a lot of people drink.
Absolutely. We need to get away from gluten anyways. You see what happens when you have gluten? You end up like The Last of Us. So I'm just saying.
You end up in The Last of Us.
I'm just saying flour.
That's true.
Okay.
Gluten-free beer is going to save the world.
It is. It is.
Gave me such a good meme idea to use for our socials with
That would be. Now's the time to capitalize on that for sure.
I just had, thank you. I will credit you guys.
We did it. Yes. That's awesome. And
Oh, that was all Matt.
that's what I've been thinking this whole time. As soon as they were like, it's the flour. And I was like, I played the games, but they don't really think in the games they did that. I was like, well, thank God that I don't eat a lot of my stuff is gluten free. So I'm good right now. I'm going to be one of those survivors for 10 minutes until I get taken down by a clicker or something. But I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, I'm going to be the first one that becomes a clicker because I eat bread all the time. I'm done for. But no, I have a friend that, a lot of times we'll go somewhere to a brewery or we'll be drinking and she's gluten free. So she just, if there's not a non-gluten free option, she's drinking water. So it will be nice to see that shift. Like I have a friend who's sober and I can be like, hey, they have non-alcoholic beer here. They have mocktails. Like it's nice that we're finally catering to, and not catering, we're just, like you said, making it inclusive for everybody because you want to go there and hang out with friends. You don't want to go there and be like, well, only 2 of my friends can go because everybody else doesn't want this specific beer.
Yeah.
My goal is just to get everybody to go to breweries every day. So I just need it to be as easy as possible.
That's also true. Whenever everyone's like, hey, what do you want to do? Like, let's just meet up at the brewery. We got trivia night. We got things like that. It's the hangout spot.
Food. Yeah.
Yeah. And food.
Exactly.
And food. So I don't think we got to, unless I was talking and trying to get Stellar in there. How did you guys come up with the name Otherwise?
Ooh, we didn't do that.
It was a very long process, and actually the friend who introduced us, he ended up coming up with the name. We'd gone through many iterations, and we had a bunch of criteria. First of all, we wanted it to be something that you're not going to mishear. We don't want people to be like, oh, our brewery name is blah, and they're like, what? Like, it needs to be something that you're going to understand what it is. Couldn't be too long. Has to be something that you can sort of say that rolls off the tongue. So we were looking for sort of a fairly common word that was not likely to be misheard. And also, of course, it had to be available. The first 500 names we came up with, someone else had thought of it already, right?
You got to look on it, it's like, damn it.
But then Otherwise,
or it has tone in it, so you have to take it out.
Yeah. Our friend Kim suggested Otherwise, and he's like, and we're like, wait, that's perfect. It's like it's the wisdom of using other fermentables, and nobody else has taken this, and it's 3 syllables, and it's easy to understand and pronounce and write, and all this stuff. Like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah, nobody's gonna be like Otherwise is like a pretty rememberable thing, especially when you're talking in the realm of what you guys do. It makes perfect sense. Because that's the first thing I thought of was, oh, they chose this because it makes sense. You're using other things than the normal barleys and the malts and things like that. So it just makes sense in my opinion. So shout out to them. And Lauren, before we let our guests get back, because I know, Stella, you said you have an event tonight, so we don't hold you too long. Do you have any other questions before we roll into some beer news here in a few?
I think my last question for both of you is just being in San Francisco and being right very close. You said your beer's up in Santa Rosa, being very close to, of course, Russian River Brewing.
I like the way you think.
What is Ant-Man like? That is what I wanted to know. Living in San Francisco, you must see him all the time there. That was exactly it, Matt. No, do you obviously, to all of us craft beer nerds, Pliny the Elder is a whale. All these whale beers are becoming less of whales beers because increased distribution. But how do you guys view that versus like your beer and differentiating the two? Like, is Pliny still like a big deal out there, or is it kind of just like, oh, that's just always there? I don't know.
Well,
I kind of went off a little trail there. Okay.
we just got out of beer week, and for someone who works at a craft beer bar outside of Otherwise, people definitely still are on the whale hunt for their younger each year. So yeah, it people still get excited, people are still searching for it, people still travel for it, and that's there, and that's great. I mean, Russian River opened a lot of doors for like the Bay Area beer scene, and we're like thankful to them for that. But I think we're offering something completely different that is making the the beer scene more inclusive. It's this product that we spent a lot of time doing R&D on to make sure that people who have dietary restrictions can enjoy it, and if you don't, you can also enjoy it. We want to be able to check off both boxes, but I do think that it helps to be in an area of the world where there's a lot of iconic breweries, because the interest in beer here is so common, because just about everyone in the Bay Area has a really awesome brewery in their backyard. So I think that helps, and there's room for all of us, and like this industry is so like collaborative and like just willing to help each other out, that it also benefits us to be in such like a beer mecca of the US or of the world.
Right. Do you get a lot of international people, not international, national?
Oh, Lauren, we lost your audio. She's gone. We lost Lauren. Oh,
sorry, I had kids walking through and I muted myself and forgot. No, you answered my question even though I didn't even ask it properly. That's exactly what I meant. So thank you.
Perfect. Now, if there's one thing that you want people to take away from the brewery and what you guys are doing, one thing to leave with everybody out there, what is it that you would have to say?
Drink our beer. I don't know.
that was one of those like
the most obvious thing, right? Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really exciting for us when we pour a beer for somebody and to see their face light up and like, oh, this is delicious, and then they're like, oh, I can't believe that it's gluten free. This is really good. So it is very heartwarming. So I would just say to people, like, continue trying new things, and there's a lot of innovation out there, and hopefully, we'll be one of the breweries that people associate with innovation and with flavors that they love.
Absolutely.
And also regarding our next phase with the tap room opening up, I think that we're just really excited to finally have a headquarters for Otherwise beer that like can really deepen the identity of what we're doing in terms of inclusivity and discovery. So for the people who are Bay Area based, who have the chance to come out and visit us once we're open, we can't wait to pour a beer for you. And we're also very centrally located. We will be centrally located in SF2. So we do understand that there will be kind of like more destination, like gluten-free drinkers coming by too. And we're just as excited to pour a beer for you as well.
Yes.
Awesome.
I've never been to San Fran yet. It's one of my bucket list cities. And I hope that when I get out there, your brewery is one of the top locations to stop by. Cause I know I'm definitely intrigued, and getting to chat with you guys taking the time out of your evening to come hang out with us for a little bit. I really appreciate that. I know Lauren does as well. And so thank you guys for coming to hang out with us. And we can't wait to get out there sometime and try your guys' beer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for having us. To pour a beer for you.
Thank you for having us.
Right on. Well, we're yes, absolutely.
Yes,
we're cheersing. Cheers. Which we didn't say. What are you drinking, by the way?
Oh, me?
Yeah. What do you got in the glass?
These are our neighbors here in SF, Black Hammer Brewing Company. And this is their Cuddle Puddle, which is a juicy cryo Citra, Idaho 7, and Azaka hops. Idaho 7. Hazy IPA.
Oh.
Excellent.
Anything with Citra.
Yeah, same. Idaho 7, but Well, Lauren and I are going to roll into some news here in a second. You guys, again, you're welcome to hang out and talk some news with us, or you're free to I release you, as they
You're
say.
free.
That sounded so like you're under our power. You can't go anywhere, so I apologize. But yeah, you're welcome to stay or hang out. And we really appreciate you guys stopping by to talk about the brewery.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you.
So much.
No problem, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye bye.
All right, so we're going to start real quick, roll right into it. We don't have too much news. Mobcraft will be having their 5th annual Sour Fest on Saturday, March 25th. So if you're in the Wisconsin area, definitely check out Mobcraft.
Yes, Mobcraft is they do have a lot of cool beers, and they're all crowdfunded, and so there's always interesting ideas from people that roll through, and their ideas get chosen. So, and they're in Denver as well. Just saying. If you're rolling through Denver,
right.
They're not just in Wisconsin.
Right. I keep forgetting about that. I believe that, though. I didn't check the location. I believe it's their main tap room, the Wisconsin.
I think it is.
One.
It is.
But yeah, they have a Denver location now. So Montgomery County in Maryland is continue to making a positive impact on the environment. So their County Department of Environmental Protection and their local breweries began a program back in 2019 called Brews and Bulbs, where residents could actually trade in old fluorescent light bulbs for free LED ones. And they were doing this at the craft beer event during February. So this year they are at it again, and the program has changed, though, to Beers, Burgers, and Bulbs. Or Beers, Burgers,
That sounds
Bulbs.
like Guy Ferrari should be there. Like Beers, Burgers, and Balls at the diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Well, they added burgers for a reason, though. So it's aiming to encourage residents to electrify everything. So in addition to the light bulb swap, which they're doing, you can get up to 3 free LED light bulbs. They're also going to have a local chef who is not Guy Ferrari. Is Guy Ferrari a chef, or does he just go around and eat things?
He's a chef. How do you think? You
Okay.
don't get to be the mayor of Flavortown by coasting on your good looks alone.
Okay. So local chef Hunter Karamitos from Steve's Burger will be there, and he's going to be making burgers on an induction cooktop, which I did not know this till I was reading this, but induction cooktops take much less energy than your regular stovetop cookpot, whatever. I have an induction burner that I haven't used yet, but I need to brew beer on it. So save the planet and save some money. Cheers.
That's true.
If you want to do that, it's actually this weekend. Friday, February 24th, they'll be at Astrolab Brewing. Saturday, February 25th at True Respite Brewing. And then Sunday at Two Story Brewing.
Yeah, that sounds delicious. Well, Bear Republic Brewing and Drake's Brewing will be merging. As part of the sale, Drake's is set to receive Bear Republic's recipes, the Krabby Patty secret formula, and their intellectual property. And they will take on producing Bear Republic's beers. According to the newspaper, Rich Norgrove, co-owner of Bear Republic, will stay on with brewmaster Peter Kruger. He'll continue to brew the beer at the brand's Cloverdale home base, but will begin moving over to San Leandro in the next few months. Norgrove and Drake's brewing co-owner John Martin are longtime friends who launched Triple Rock in Berkeley back in 1986. And the duo told the paper the sale will make both brands stronger, like Emperor Palpatine. We're dissolving into the first Galactic Senate. Okay, I'm sorry. Wrong.
And democracy died with thunderous applause.
My bad. Wrong show.
Okay. So my question, though, is this how a lot of these smaller, I mean, these are obviously two bigger, smaller breweries, but they were still two legit craft breweries. So is this how the smaller guys survive? They team up
to
fight the InBevs, and now
it's like the Avengers, you know? They got to team up. We got to have team ups, man. It's true.
All right.
Well, I know you have not only Rhode Island Craft Beer Week, March 5th to 12th, March 5th to 12th, but also Massachusetts, they're doing their Craft Beer Week in the same time. So I only know that because I'm mad that I'm barely missing Massachusetts Craft Beer Week. Gosh.
Actually, so is Tampa Bay. I didn't even mention that.
One of the things that Rhode Island is doing is a road map challenge utilizing Rhode Island Brewers Guild.
RHODE.
Haha, get it.
See what they did there?
You're using Rhode Island Brewers Guild Passport app on your smartphone, and craft beer enthusiasts can check into and post photos of their beer from as many Rhode Island breweries as they can that week. The Rhode Island Brewers Guild wants to be clear that this should only be attempted with the help of a designated driver.
Patrick said it is the Wisconsin tap room.
Ah.
Um, So, True Anomaly Brewing is a brewery I think you're going to want to remember if you haven't heard of them before. They are in Houston, Texas, and they just won the most awards at the
Ooh.
Texas Craft Brewers Cup in Austin. They won 3 gold medals and 2 silver, which also earned them the Houston's 2023 Brewery of the Year. This brewery was
Nice.
started by 4 co-founders who met while working together at NASA and the Johnson Space Center. So these are smart dudes, and there's a lot of chemistry in beer. So I bet their beers are pretty phenomenal. And obviously, the Texas Brewers Cup people, judges do too.
That's true. That's true. Well, if you're in the Tucson, Arizona area, the Tucson Craft Beer Crawl is back, baby! After a 3-year
Woohoo!
COVID hiatus, it will be this Saturday from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock with more than 20 brewers spread out over 10 downtown venues. So rejoice. Again, designated driver, please. There's a lot of events coming up, especially as the snow begins to melt, the spring air begins to hit our skins.
And that's when we stop doing beer fests.
Yeah, because it gets way too hot in Florida.
I went to a beer fest one time. They did Smash the weekend of Labor Day. I was melting.
Yeah, way too hot for me. That doesn't work. I don't do the heat. So
So no matter what stories seem to come out of Brewdog, they just keep swimming and expanding. So they have actually teamed up with Budweiser and will be entering the China market. There, they don't just intend to sell their beer, but they also intend to open up some bars.
that's true.
They just keep growing.
And man, I know we talked about the Bangkok Craft Beer Festival last week, but it might be canceled. The festival is expected to both celebrate homebrewing and advocate for reforms against laws that effectively ban it. However, the shopping center that was supposed to host the event is concerned that it may cause the public to develop the misconception that the shopping center supports political parties and is not neutral. Come on. Anyways, it may bring about protest or political rallies. It may cause a disturbance to others in the shopping center or affect the image of the shopping center in the future. They are hoping to have a new location, and it has not been officially canceled. That's a shame.
When I first started to read that, I was kind of confused because I was like, well, what were they doing that was political there? I didn't realize that they were just trying to change the laws to benefit the breweries. That was all it was. It wasn't.
Can't have that.
Right. I guess that was too political,
Trash.
but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they still get to do it because it seemed like, when we read it last week, we were praising it and we're like, woohoo, good for them. That's great. Getting these small businesses out there. And
now it's like, not so fast, partner, which is unfortunate. But that's about.
I just froze in a funny face for a second there.
That's about all the news we have tonight. If you guys really enjoyed Otherwise Brewing, go to otherwisebrewing.com. Find out if you can get their beer near you. Patreon, so we owe you some good swag and stuff here soon. So we should be working on something here to get your way. And Jeremy's out there hustling. He's still with us. Don't worry, he's with us. He's getting a house in Virginia Beach. They found a house that they're going to be moving into, and he's been doing a lot of great things at New Round Brewing. So shout out to our boy Jay. That beer was for you tonight. And yeah, make sure gluten-free options, man. That's the way of the future. Like this sour I had tonight, gluten-free. And it tasted pretty good. It was like a melted sherbet. It was delicious.
Well, and I didn't think mine was relevant to the guests, but then they were talking about inclusivity. And that's what this beer does.
Yeah, no, they were awesome.
It
Make sure to
all
check them
comes
out.
full
Please,
circle.
please, please support breweries, support your local breweries. Go to these festivals that are happening near you. And we will be back hopefully maybe next week. We'll see. In the meantime, go to Hops News on YouTube. Go to Hops News on any social media platform. And then also, we have some big things happening on Hops Geek News. We just dropped our Kang.
Mandalorian.
No, I'm sorry. You're right. Kang was the week before. Sorry. Our Mandalorian, the Mandalorian Season 3 premieres next Wednesday. So to get caught up on the Mandalorian, go ahead and listen to our latest episode on Hops Geek News. You can find that by searching Hops Geek News, where we recap Seasons 1 and Seasons 2 for everyone to get ready for Season 3. We've been doing Supernatural episodes weekly on Fridays. We call it Supernatural Friday around these parts. And right now, we do. I do.
I like
anyways. Supernatural Fridays, man. Every Friday is Freaky Friday when you get down with Supernatural. And
every day's Supernatural Day in my heart.
It's true. I'm watching it. I am going to make you listen to our episodes to find out my true feelings. So do that. And other than that, we're going to be reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with Richard, who writes for MCU Direct. He does social media for them. He does a lot of really cool things. So there's a lot of good content episodes coming out lately is what I'm trying to say. So go listen to us, find us, join our Facebook group there, Patreon as well, patreon.com/hopsnews or patreon.com/hopsgeeknews. And until next week, my friends, oh, how could I forget? Boise people, if you happen to be listening, we are about to, in 10 minutes, sit down with Dave, the creator of Gem State Comic Con. That is taking place April 1st and 2nd in Boise, Idaho. And so if you have an interest in that convention, come take a listen. Check that out. That'll be out soon too. Now that I'm done talking, Lauren, I'll see you in a minute. The rest of you guys, we will see you